All right. I woke up late and wanted to start this a couple hours ago. It's 9:30 here. I meant to start it around 7. But sorry, I just had a muffin. I got something in my throat still. But I suspect I'm going to have about 8 hours worth of cutting today. So I really need to get these ramp bucks done. This is why I wanted to cut them yesterday, so I could just not worry about it so much today. Um, yeah. Where am I going? Okay, so the three things I need to prepare are the ramp bucks, um, all the different layers of the ramp bucks. There's gonna be three different layers of that, and the cut the hole in the backboard for the ramp, and then the backboard itself. So I'm gonna start with the hole for the backboard to make sure there's no other changes to the ramps I need to make. But there is. I just remembered shit because last night when I measured some things after posting some pictures, this ramp, yeah. Oh, I already labeled it. Um, because I have that there. That definitely this ramp should get adjusted ever so slightly. So I'm gonna do that quick. Um, yeah, this line here is where this straight ramp comes out. So I do need to make some changes here. This no longer fixed. This needs to come. Point is not. This whole assembly, all of these things need to come down like there. Yeah, so see where this mounting point is now. I'm going to need to make some adjustments. Now, this is going deeper into the ramp. I want this to have a little slop, so if I need to, I can trim it and put like a little piece of flex steel or something right there. That's that. Now this flange, which is screwed up here now, as kind of expected. Um, this needs to not be like that. I'm going to pull this up here. This I need to pull up a little. So that has that curl. Now that's going to be back in there. Technically, this spot should get moved. I did already CNC the thing out. I can always drill another hole. So how about I just move this thing a little bit. I don't really like where that fit in there. Would prefer this to be more like here. And then that hole can go right here. And then that gives me more trim. Because if I can trim straight across here, that would be the easy thing to do. So that's device holes. You know, and these are just some things that you don't realize until you finally put everything together, or you're half asleep when you're. So if that mounts right there, then that flange will be more than big enough for that thing. I do need to add in that extra fillet down here. Not up there. What am I thinking? And I think that's it for this ramp because now this will be plenty spaced. And you know, this ramp can also kind of attach down here actually. That'll be nice. Edit this for a second. See if um well if that's no yeah I'd love to have it. So what I can do is before the shell, and all the other fillets, I'm going to add a one of these things there. This is going to be 3/8 round. Midpoint is going to be basically here, but it's not going to be associated with that in case I move. Fix that. Thought a second ago. This is going to be perpendicular to this. I don't care how far that goes. That's fine. I might as well just define this. 5 is fine. Here's extrude that to the surface below it. Right, this thing down here. Let me see. Where the hell did it go? Then re-shell that, but this fillet here also be applied to those endpoints because they really don't want it to be just flat. It's right there. All right. Now that has a mount point right there. Okay, so that's probably good for these ramp bucks. That can just go right onto that post without a problem. I'm of two frames of thought on that. If I don't need to do that, I'm not going to because that makes it more difficult to take off the ramp flaps because I'm going to have the ramp flaps underneath those posts, not attached to the ramp. But I mean, if you want to take the ramp out, you need to take this ramp off. Anyways, I don't know. I'll think about it. But anyways, I have some space here now to cut that. So those. This back wall needs a cut in it for this thing. Before I do that, I should this take the backboard. Isolate these two things so I can actually see what I'm doing. Okay, so the backboard is going to have a sketch that's kind of like this-ish. But specifically, I want to see where does that flange intersect. So it really is just going to be the flange that intersects here. So it doesn't need to be gigantic. And this is going to be, that's what, 1¼ inch up. But, yeah, so all the way, yeah, it's safest to make it all the way over. All right, so let's do 1¼ inch up, or 1 inch up from the bottom of this. About there. Then it goes to, I don't know. I might keep it at 1 inch so it can be flat on the bottom. This is not going to be parallel to that. Then, well, no, a parallel to go away. Then the height of this can be 0.5, so that'll bring it from 1 inch to 1.5 inch. So that leaves like a half-inch play in the middle for this thing. And then on this side, it can be 7.5 maybe. It could be 1 also, because it's going to be gliding up. So what is the actual height different change on this? It's going to go from this high point here to 1.25 inches here. Well, not 1.25 inches, because it has a 16th inch footprint, so that's 1 and 3/16. So it's going to kind of go up that way. Obviously, this ramp is not quite right. This back section doesn't need to go that far back. It needs to go to about there. It needs to be 1 inch or 1.5 inches. Yeah, so that'll probably be good enough for that. So I guess I don't necessarily want this to be flat. This is 7.5. I'm sorry, 1.75, right? And then this is 0.75. So something like that. So it has a little bit of a spread as it goes out. Add all these little fillets here so the CNC machine can actually cut it. And then let's screw hole cut this thing. So now, in theory, this hole here should line up with the ramp itself back there. So that flange that's kind of cutting into the backboard will have some place to go. In theory. If not, I can always take a Dremel and I can adjust it, and then I can adjust the CAD later on. But it'll at least be a good start for the thing. Okay, so those are all the CAD changes I wanted to make. So now I got to make these ramp bucks and everything. All right. So another thing that I was thinking about too when looking at the actual cut, this flipper, I might want to make this into a mini flipper, like, one of the 2-inch flippers, and then pull the mounting point forward a bit more. I don't know. The 3-inch flipper might be too big for this area. It's hard to tell until you flip it. And I can always put a mini flipper on there when I flip it tomorrow. Obviously it won't be in the right spot, and it'll make this ramp a little harder to hit, but it'll tell me, if it really should be a mini flipper rather than a full flipper. If I do make it a mini flipper, though, then the power, the solenoid that I choose can't be the weak solenoid, because I got a yellow, the weakest solenoid for this upper flipper, because, the 3-inch flipper will be fine going up and around that with that. But the mini flipper almost exponentially gets weaker and weaker the shorter it is. So this would then have to be like the same flipper power as these guys, which is not necessarily ideal. But we'll figure that out tomorrow, I suppose. Okay. Let's kill this. Now, I did start a ramp layout in here. And now I can rearrange this because I have another ramp piece to make. And this layout I can use as my cut basis for, the CNC layout. But kinda. It is going to differ a little bit since I'll have more space in some situations. And the stock that I have is I need to buy 2 new pieces of wood for this because I've used up some of my others. But the 3/4 inch wood, I have like bits and pieces all over the place, so I'm gonna have to on my own time Mickey Mouse that. I'm not gonna do that here. I'm just gonna kind of get everything semi prepared. Ramps. This is part need B. Yeah. Okay. So if you remember, the whole point of trimming all this stuff was to make it so it could fit in my forming machine in one go. So let's see if this actually is gonna work. So these straight pieces need to rotate like this ish. Because if this doesn't fit like this, I'm gonna have to do 2 pulls. I'm not gonna be very happy about it. That wastes 2 pieces of plastic, and really, plastic's expensive. I'd rather not waste more plastic than I need to. I mean, it's not expensive, but it's expensive enough to be annoying. That can go there. This go there. All right, so it'll fit on the machine with enough leeway that I'll be happy about. And obviously, once I get to the machine proper, I'll be able to adjust this stuff a bit more real. There, I don't want these things really too close to the edges of the machine because the edges of the machine don't heat up nearly as well as the inner part of the machine. So yeah, all these pieces will fit there fine, and I still have some spot if I want to make another little curved piece somewhere. Like I'm toying with the idea of doing some formed pieces around like the edges of the thing, like pumpkin patchy form pieces. So there is some space around here for a formed piece there, a formed piece over here. A little couple things around. So this is good. So that's roughly what it'll how I'll lay it out. Now, when I actually lay it out, it's going to look like this. Nope, not that. Look like not that. I won't be able to do it easily. It's going to be upside down. You know. Oh, of course I didn't hate that part. Anyways, it's going to be upside down, so it'll be backwards compared to what I have here. But you get the point. They all fit where they're supposed to fit. Um, all right. I'm gonna save. So I save this. I'm gonna make a drawing of this because I now need to turn these into bucks or into buck pieces. What was it? 26 by 32 inches, not millimeters. Up. This needs to be 1-to-1 sheet. 1-to-5. Rotate this. All fit in. Come on. Fit in there. Don't need this drawing visible. Matter. All right. So 26 by 32. And this also needs to be a DXF. I'll save it as a PDF too because why not? I want to print it up for some reason. And now this needs to be a DXF. And finally, I can go into Inkscape. So this is going to be a bit more complex, which is why I want to get it done sooner than later. New game design. Okay, so this property is 23 by 47 because the wood stock I'm going to have is 23 by 47. Generally speaking, I get the MDF handy planks because they offer really smooth forming. Ideally, I want to do this in whatchamacallit, not iron, not copper. I can't remember the name of that metal. Aluminum. Ideally, I want it to be an aluminum molded piece, but expensive. So I will deal with MDF. That's fine. Okay. So now this needs to be broken up into 3 different pieces. 1, 2, 3. Actually, just 2 because the 1/2 inch and the 3/4 inch are actually the same thing. So let's ungroup this and start pulling everything out. Oh, shoot. Before I do that, I need these things to properly be hairline. Thank you. Now, I can oh, I ungroup both of them. No, I didn't. Ungroup. Right now I can start pulling out all these individual pieces. This is a little bit of a thing. I don't mind getting rid of some of those other straight pieces at the bottom because I can reattach things. I don't necessarily want like a million of these little pieces here. See all those? So I can grab this. First off, is there anything under here? No. I can, come on, snap. Snap to this thing. And that cleans up some of these edges that have all kinds of weird miscellaneous stuff going on with it. Just not ideal to have when making toolpaths. I mean, the cleaner your arcs and lines are, the better when you do toolpaths. I think that goes without saying. Oh, you need to zoom in enough so it knows what to snap to. Otherwise, it'll snap to things I don't want it to snap to. Just got to be careful not to delete things you don't mean to delete. That would not be ideal. Okay. That one. Oh, don't. Now, one thing I didn't model in this is the drop hole, that the ball drops out of over in the in lane. I just cut that with like a 1 inch drill bit. I think I have a step drill bit that I usually use. I think the step drill bit goes up to 1 1/4 or some such. Well, I've got two. I got one that goes up to 1 1/16, and one that goes up to one that goes up to 1 1/8, and one that goes up to 1 3/8, 1/4, something like that. So that's what I typically use, and you'll see it when I actually go to finish these things later on today, once it's formed. I still plan on forming all this stuff today, so I can attach to the game tomorrow. Otherwise, how am I going to test it properly? Stop. Snapping's getting a little easier now that there aren't all these little line segments everywhere. Which is nice. Hand is already active. And then just like the other one, this edge piece is going to have a whole bunch of really undesired lines. So I'm just going to get rid of them all. Did not want to spline that. All right, so those are the flanges. When I'm gonna combine them separately, like so with the pinball play field, I combined everything together. I want these to be separate so I can rearrange them later on, and you'll kind of see that once I get to it. Makes it easier to adjust things. And I also color them differently. So the flanges, oh, I don't want. I don't want all those stupid there. You want to clean this up. I want to clean that up a bit like I did the others. Still no stroke. Okay, so all of these are ramp flanges. Or call it flanges. And save this thing as a playfield top. Box. There we go. All right, so these are saved. Now I won't lose that in case something goes wrong. Um, oh, just to show you, so this SVG file is open source. So if I edit with text file, or in a text file, see, it's just an XML that describes things. So it would be really easy to load this in and do some manipulation in a tool. So first quarter next year, January-ish, I am gonna make that tool that auto combines loops and things. So I don't have to do it myself for playfields. I can't do that with this because this has all these weird segments everywhere that I gotta delete. But with playfields, the standard arcs and circles and things, I can at least combine those things together, and then I can go in and I can regroup them, or regroup the combined shapes. So it's one less thing I have to deal with. It'll make life a million times easier when I have to deal with inserts. All right, so now these ones I need to do the middle section only. Like first I gotta get rid. No, I gotta first ungroup it. Otherwise, I won't be able to select anything. Then I gotta get rid of all the flanges. So the trick with these ones are this first pipe that you kind of see right here. That's the curve in, like on the inside of the thing, and then the second thinner pipe is the curve like outside, like onto the flange. So you got the inside curve and then the flange curve. We don't want those. We want the line in the middle between all those things. So let's get rid of that one. Get rid of that one. Get rid of that. Get rid of that one. Get rid of that one. Get rid of nope that, and we can get rid of some of those other little dinky things, and you'll be left with this. So you can see I'm just grabbing this middle line throughout the whole thing because that's the actual size, the actual form of the ramp. And if I didn't form this thing completely with all kinds of flanges and curves and blah, 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 then it would be like just straight flat lines. And I used to do that. But for better visualization of things, and really, so it looks nicer in CAD, I'm adding these other things. But it does make it a little more tedious when needing to delete stuff and clean things up for CNC. And as I trim these things out, you'll notice this gets really thin. So I can combine this stuff, or I can optimize the size of the CNC cut a lot, and optimize the material used a lot. Um, Once I get rid of all these unnecessary elements of it. Right? But you know what? I don't like how, because it's trying to snap the whole line rather than the single vertex. Do that. Uh, Next one. Again, it's trying to snap the middle. I'm not going to do. And it's nice once you get your first two guidelines done. If your other lines don't connect later on as you're trimming things out, then you probably deleted the wrong line somewhere along the way. mid cut 2. And reassembling this is actually pretty easy because, you know, these mid cuts are just that. They're mid cuts. So you want them to go in the middle of whatever path you're doing, generally speaking. At least at the entrances and exits, it's usually pretty safe to line them up in the middle. And if it's not lined up properly, something will look wrong. Which, hey, don't do that, Windows. Yeah, you know, something will look wrong. Like, so before you glue it and everything, you can be like, wait a minute, where does this go again? And you can see. What am I doing? I'm getting lazy. Laziness is not always good when you're trying to be a little meticulous. Oh yeah, here's something interesting to see. This space here is very obviously really this space here is very obviously wider than like this space over here. Because remember, those ramps are going to go onto each other. So I needed to make space a little wider. One more. And it's hard to see that kind of thing on this because of all the extra lines, but the moment you take some of those lines out, it becomes very obvious that, yes, in fact, it is a little wider, which is great. That's exactly what I wanted. And again, it's very obvious now that I cleaned all that up that this part here is wider than this down here. Again, perfect. That's what I want. And obviously, I already kind of knew that because the CAD file itself reflected that when I put one ramp inside of the other. But it's still nice to see it when it gets exported out that things are still in line with my expectations. Oh, no, one more. Okay, so that's those. Again, I'm going to save this because I really don't want to repeat that. And you can see all the space that's left over there now. So I can optimize how I cut this quite a bit. Um, this can probably nestle in around here when I cut it or something. Anyways, let's combine these things. Sorry, well, let's combine these things so I can then finally define the stock, and then I still need to do the backboard. Ah, not as difficult, I suppose. Just getting late. 10:10. I have 8 hours of cutting. It's already going to get to 6 p.m. Everybody got bored watching this. I don't blame it. This is a TV, but it's all part of it. Doing design isn't all fun and games. There's the fun part of coming up with a sketch, but it got to make that sketch into a reality, and that's when all this stuff kind of starts adding up. And when people say, "Oh, it's not that bad to do this. It's just easy," it's like, yeah, until you go to build it. And mind you, it's not that hard. It's again just tedious and somewhat mind numbing if you're not used to doing it. Like I'm doing this really quick because I've done this I don't know how many hundreds of times already in the past with other games, but when you're just starting out, this is very very boring stuff. All right, so how can I optimize these things? So these are obviously this one I can obviously rotate it. Great. This I can oh don't do that. Probably fit right in here. Pretty nicely like there. And these things, I rotate this. Can this nestle over in the side? Not as much as I want. Fortunate. But this can nestle more over here. That. This one. Okay, so here's a little trick for all you in Watch Land and VOD Land. I don't need to cut this shape in this direction because it's just a shape and I can flip flop it all I want in this particular case. The flange is not so much, but in this particular case. So I can, in theory, flop that, then rotate this like this. So this now can fit in here a little nicer. And in doing that, that also allows this potentially, maybe, to like fit in there somehow. So let's see if this works this way. That's a lot of dead space, and I don't like that. But I can also take these things now as a group, rotate them so this goes in corner over here, and this, rotate like this. This can rotate, kind of go in right here. So this uses a little less space, potentially, for that to be like that. And if I can, that would nestle a little bit there, better there. Doesn't. But I can save some space by putting this way up here. Can I? What if I flop this again? Oh, oh, oh. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I think we have a winner. All right, here we go. I think this is about as optimized as I can make it because I still need some space for like the skeleton to actually exist. So I think this is as optimized as I can make this, which is good because that leaves like all the space up here for other cuts. Um, the $1 million question is: do I want to make these flanges off of this half-inch stock also? And I don't think I do. I think I want some extra half-inch stock for use later on. So this will be the half-inch layout, and kinda sorta the um the 3/4 inch layout. 3/4 inch layout is going to be changed a little bit because, like I said, I have some bits and pieces of 3/4 inch. So this, like these two things, might be able to be cut right there, but this might need to be cut on a different stock. But for the half-inch, I can. That's good. Group that. Um, and now for the flanges, these can't really be optimized that much, unfortunately. Just because of their size. I can optimize them a little bit. Like this one can move down more there, which would potentially allow this one to move down more. No, not the whole thing. This one. Come on. This one. Really ungroup for allow this one to pull down a little bit. There. This I definitely want to pull this down. I can go up a little bit. I needed some space on the bottom too. Can I rotate this one at all to fix this? Yeah, I can rotate it a tickle. And that leaves dead space there. Really rather this one. Rotate. Suppose that's fine. Yeah, these can't optimize as much as I would love, unfortunately. Just stop snapping. I think that's the best I can do. But I still have some space over here for another tall ramp footprint. And I have space up at the top for some more footprints. But really, that's only like one or two large ramps. This is the best I can do. So the flanges, I can't flip flop because the material I'm gonna get is melamine surfaced, so it's nice and slick. That way, the material can slide across the edge. I can't get a half-inch or three-quarter-inch melamine, unfortunately. Well, MDF melamine, but I can get quarter-inch. So that's what I'm gonna be using for these. So if I flip it, it's gonna have the wrong texture on the wrong side, and I really prefer not to do that. So with everything all facing the same correct way that it's supposed to, I can make sure that the ramp gets cut correctly, basically. Or I can make sure that the surface gets cut correctly. All right, so these are flanges. Is integers. All right. Oh, I need to add tabs. So for the flanges, I always use red for tabs. Here. Bunch of tabs dotted around. Again, stop snapping. Right. I don't want tabs to be in hard to get to spots because I do technically need to clean them up. That would be a hard to get to spot. I also don't like putting tabs on round section. Again, that will make it a little bit of a thing to clean up. Sometimes I do it, but usually I try not to. And I do like putting tabs at the ends because the ends tend to be very vibraty when cutting. Try to have a tab on one side or the other side. So over here is unfortunate because this has a lot of curve to it. I really kind of need a tab over here. So those are tabs for this thing. We don't need, oops, stop doing, I don't need this many tabs. Just do that. I do need a bunch for this because of the shape of that. I can put a tab over here. This is just a flange. That doesn't really matter much. It's going to be trimmed because that's going to be very vibraty over there. This is going to be fine. I'm not concerned about that. Okay, so now all of these get combined. Call it tab. Add in the flanges. that in the flanges. Thank you. And then the inners also need a bunch of tabs. These are the more critical ones because this is where the ball is actually going to be riding on. So I don't necessarily want what I'm doing. Move up. I definitely don't want the ball to ride on things that aren't smooth. So, like I said, this is... Can you stop just changing what I'm fucking doing? Case like this, pull this. All right, I do need something that's not trapezoidal. We'll pull this across like this. I can easily get to both of those sides. I can pull this across like this because, again, I can easily get both of those sides, and that's flat. This comes straight down like that. This is not quite flat, but I can put this here. This is easy enough to fix the curve on. This obviously goes here. This would go here. Again, I can easily enough fix the curve on this. Actually, no, I don't want to do that. This is an important curve because this is the curve that bends down and guides the ball up and around. So I don't want to put that there. Sure. Put this over on this side here. This is going to be a vibrating section. Here. I can't put anything on this side because I can't easily sand that, so I don't like doing it. Yeah, so this I'll pull across and put it on the straightaway here. Then I don't have to worry too much about the curvature, and that will make sure that doesn't vibrate. Here. This can go here. This can go here. This can go here. All right, so this is a tricky one because this one needs to be a really, really smooth curve because you're going to be shooting into it and hitting this section, then bouncing, then bouncing, then bouncing. So the curve right here is probably safe to put something on. And I do need to put a little bit of a nib right there, which is, again, unfortunate. But it's a gradual enough curve. I should be able to smooth this out easily. Because I think those are all the tabs I'm going to put on this. Let's get rid of that and let's put the cleaner nib on that. Do the same thing. Really? Do the same thing with this one too. Okay. Those are all the tabs I need for that. Not TAMs, tabs. All right. This has already been half an hour too long because I really need to get downstairs and start making breakfasts and things. But I need to get these toolpaths taken care of too. So let's hopefully really quickly. Um, what is it? 0.125. This is 0.25. No, I'm sorry, 0.5. I'm not getting an eighth of an inch. I'm getting a quarter of an inch. Point 0.75. Okay, so in here, add our ramp document, the SVG. I am going to take this document and put over a little bit because that's too close to the edge for my liking. Oh, no, no. Yeah. Nudge the edge X over 5 millimeter. Nudge the Y up 6 millimeter. That's really close down there. Okay, that leaves enough of a space for the edge of the stock and everything. And obviously the stock isn't going to go all the way to the edge there. But you can see I've got plenty of space around the right side of the machine so I can Mickey Mouse some things when I actually align the stock. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do, well, this is going to contain actually all the stuff. So these create single. Going to be 1/2 inch layers. Going to have this rect the tab. Mill cut outside. No, mill cut. And 1, 2, 3 minus 13.5 because it's 1/2 inch. Cast depth 2. Tool diameter is 3.1875 because I'm going to use 1/8 of an inch. And 1/8 of an inch, unless I'm mistaken, 1/8 inch 2 millimeter is 3.175. 3.1. I was wrong slightly. Okay. And then the tab depth is the 8 again. And plunge rate 300. Cut rate can be 700 on this because it's not, it doesn't need to be as perfect as the playfield does. Generate that, make sure that works okay. Good. Save this as uh 24 by 24 by 0.5 3 meters. That's first cut. Next one is going to be basically stop that. Same thing, but for 3/4 of an inch. But 3/4 inch layers. This is gonna be 10, 1, 2, 3, 5 minus 20. What's 3/4 of an inch? 19.05, so minus 20 to allow that extra little slop to go all the way through. Cast depth is 2 millimeters. Final tool width is 3.175. 300. Cut rate is 700. Tab depth is going to be 15, 14. And again, that seemed to generate okay. This, similarly named, but it's going to be 3/4 inch size instead of the 1/2 inch size. Yep. And then finally, flanges. This while I wait. I don't need that anymore. I do need all of these. Single. This is going to be called flanges. Also has tabs. Cut outside. 3, 5. NZ on here is going to be 6. Cast depth minus cast depth is 1, 2. Because 1/4, that's to be depth minus 7. So that's cast depth of 1.75. So that we'll make sure it doesn't cut too much. 7.5, 300, 700, and the tab depth is going to be 2.5 millimeters. All right, that's those flanges. Good. Save the same thing again, but as 1/2 inch, or I'm sorry, 1/4 inch. Come on. This here, 1/4 inch. All right, so those are all the ramp pieces. Save this so it's not lost. I still need the backboard. I'll do the backboard later on. Because I really just wanted to start these cuts. It's already 10:40. Gotta run to the store and get some wood. Oy vey. All right. So I'll see you probably at like 10 o'clock tonight or 11 o'clock tonight once all these things are done. So have a good one, everybody. All right, so this is a little bit of an impromptu stream. I figure I might as well show like what I do to start a CNC cut. I've never really done that per se. So before I do that, here's the, a current version of the playfield. I do have a ball I can kind of take and kind of throw around so I can see what works. Come on. Like that. Obviously, it's not perfect. It jumps a lot right here because I don't have the flaps. And I don't have any of the guides around it, so, I can't kind of throw it around or anything. But it was a good idea, or it was a good way to
pre-visualize this thing a little bit. Let's get all these things out of the way. Let's get this off the machine. The first piece I'm going to cut is probably the 3/4 inch piece, because that's going to take the longest, and if that's done, then it's one less thing I have to worry about. And I use Mach 3 for this. I'll show you over this once I start loading everything in. Get this out of the way. And I need to clean off my machine a little bit from last night's cut. So I'm going to mute this, I think. Yeah, mute. Okay. Now, because I'm streaming this on my phone, I have no idea if comments are going to show through. So if anyone comments, you know, same deal. Before I start that, actually, let me bring you over here. So this is the white, I guess it's the dry erase board marker stuff. I like this as the flange, so it's very slick, and especially when you put some whatchamacallit, either baby powder or there's something else you can put on there to help make things slide more. It will be like even slicker. But anyways, the plastics doesn't really stick on this. So one of the first things I need to do on this machine, which I'll bring this over here so we can see what's going on, is, hi David, I need to change the tool head to be the 3mm tool, or the 1/8 inch tool, because I still have the ball nose tool from last night on here. Where's that? Yeah, I need to lower this a little bit. So yeah, it's the ball nose tool I use. It's like a 1-inch ball nose for plunger lanes. So here's the 1/4 inch tool that I use. Where's the thing? Here's the 1/4 inch tool for this particular cut. I usually use the 2mm tool, but you know, for ramp bucks and things, I don't need to be that finite usually. And if I do, it's probably for like a final cut, or it's for a because I have a bunch of like mounting holes and things on there. And this should slide right in without a problem. If it is problematic, I'll just take the whole thing out. Nope, it's good. Alright, well, it's going to be a little bit of a pain in the ass. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a pain in the ass. So, in a case like this, I stick the bit in there, I lower this down so it's kind of on a block. And then, you know, I can tighten it down without falling out. Okay, that's good. Alright, so like I said, the first piece of wood I'm going to use is the 3/4 inch, because that's going to take the longest. I think it's going to take about 3 hours to cut, maybe 3.5. And I do need to raise the machine up a tickle. To there. Otherwise I could break the bit when I put this on. There we go. I mount these things using, just regular wood screws right into the spoil board. And I take one of my old cuts as a guide for the edge, usually 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. And this is a lot bigger than the standard board that I get. Let's see. Ha! This is supposed to be 24 inches. This is almost 24.5 inches, which is great. That means I have leeway. This is just a regular Home Depot handy plank, MDF. So I'll use 1/2 inch as my offset here. Another little 1/2 inch piece somewhere. Now the nice thing is, because this is so much larger, the tool can't actually get all the way to the corner. So it'll be fairly safe. That's probably good enough. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to lift up and flop around. Do I have another one for the other corner? I need to get another screw. I'll be right back. This is probably long enough for this corner. Alright, all 4 corners are in. Okay, let's zero this thing out. So this machine, if I zoom in over here, it just kind of kisses the edge along here. Can I get this in? Yeah, it kisses right an edge over here, right? So at the most left extreme, I'm still on the stock, which is really nice. But I do want it to go in ever so slightly. So like there. So that's my 0x. My 0y. I'm way down here. Now my machine in the middle isn't really straight. So I go to the middle and I find the lowest point I can. Which is around like there. I get the 0Z for that. So now that little hole right there, this little hole right here is my 0 point. So if for whatever reason the tool gets discombobulated in the middle of a cut, I can re-zero to this, and my cut won't be destroyed. Okay, so now let's go over to this guy. This is Mach 3. It's an old program, but that's what this CNC uses. If I go to Pumpkin King, ramps, and the 3/4 inch piece is what I'm going to do first. So it's an old Dell this is running on, so this will take a second to generate toolpaths, especially on like complex things like a complete playfield. Sometimes it takes like 5 or 10 minutes to generate the toolpaths, and I need to disable the tool display over here, which you'll see show up in a minute. If I don't, then the machine will, and the computer will run like crap. It'll still kind of sort of get done, but it will risk being incredibly inaccurate. Alright, now we need to re-zero things. Reset it. 0. Okay, so this is now correct. If I zoom in on the toolpaths here, you can see how this is running like molasses. So that's where the 0 is on this thing, which is fine. I still have plenty of space on the left side for here. So I am going to go into diagnostics and disable the toolpath. So now this will actually run at full speed. Huzzah! And then with that, I just click cycle start. Well, I press F5 starts the spindle, or I can click start spindle, which is on here somewhere. Spindle. Right here. I can start the spindle with this button, or I just press F5, and you'll see in a moment it'll spin up and it'll start cutting. It'll go to the first location. Now I'm not going to record the whole thing. I got things I got to do. I just want to kind of show everybody what I did to set everything up. And there it goes, starting with the first ramp. Anyways, like I said, this is probably going to take a good 3 hours to do all the layers. I'll be coming out to it every once in a while just to suck up some sawdust. I don't have the full dust system in on this machine yet. It's supposed to connect, right up there, down to the machine. But it's not really in yet. And you can see how slow it's running. See the speed? It's like molasses. If I go too fast, the machine will have lots of thrashing. So I gotta go slow, unfortunately. So, really that's it. I hope some of you will get some information out of this in the future. Like all my other videos, it'll go up on YouTube. But I'll see you guys probably this afternoon to define the paths for the backboard, which I need to cut later on tonight. See y'all.
All right, so I'm streaming quick, you know, a quickie stream for setting up CNC paths, as I stated in the description on this. As I stated in the description of this, I really want to record every piece of work I'm doing. That's why I'm doing it. So with this, I need a new drawing. Actually, I need to open up the parts. Pumpkin thing, where is it? So earlier today, I fixed any of the backboard and whatnot problems. So now we have all this stuff kind of in here. And now I need to take all these things and I open all the documents first and then make a drawing out of it. Make tile drawing. This is going to be 24 by 24 inches by 48 inches. My stock. Now there's a catch to this. This stock is partly used, so I am gonna make a little bit of a drawing on here just to denote what's been used and what hasn't been used. This is 6 inches. So that's my working area for the side rails. And then the backboard can kind of go down here, no problem. All right, parts. Let's choose right wood border. Really? Come on. That to be 6 inches. Oh, I see what it's doing. Heats, properties, 1-to-1. Now, backboard right, left. No, undo that. Get rid of this. Left. Not what I want. Want left, and then left. Oh, I want right. Just, I mean, these are ambidextrous, so it doesn't matter when I cut them. So if I take the right, then I can rotate this 180 degrees. And I mean, I guess it's negligible. Like usually I could like mate them so they kind of kiss like this, but because of how close they are, it doesn't look like I can. Now I'm hoping I can take the two of these, rotate. Fine, I'll rotate one at a time. Break the alignment. This is not alignment. Frontal. All right, enough. No, enough. Let's get rid of the alignment. It causes you nothing but problems. Break alignment. So if I pull this over here, pull this over here. Oof, oof. I just barely have the space. I do have the space. All that matters. Now the inlane right. This, rotate this. I got plenty of space for that there. Yes. It's getting a little bit crazy, but sure. And I can make this a little more particular when I bring it into whatchamacallit, the not V-carve. That other thing that I use. This one to rotate. This can come down here, no problem. And I have another one that's already up here, so actually if I paste this up here, you can see, yeah, you see I have all that extra space. All right, so roughly, this is my layout, more or less. I do have a little bit extra space. It's actually 6.25 inches. So I can lay that out there. This is going to be really tight. Well, this side doesn't need to be that high. I can come down here more. But the distance from here to here, not going to let me. Can I set the distance? No, it's not. Fine. And I can fix that in Inkscape. All right. I suppose this is what it's going to be. Save it as layout. There's PF wood borders 24 by 12, really. 24 by 14. And save as borders EXF. No shit. Stuff. 24 by 14. All right. Inkscape. New document. Document property. Width is 4. I think it's going to be 12, honestly. And then the height is which obviously I named all these other things wrong. So in here, rename this to 14 by 48. That's what it should be. 14 by 48. Yeah, it is 14, just barely. I mean, I can make it fit in 14, no problem. So, stroke is hairline, and well, let's ungroup. So this does have this thing in the middle first. That no, It needs to be shapeified. Well, does it? Yeah, it does. It doesn't. I do want. It is a little wider. Properties. 15. Be enough. All right, so let's group each one of these individually, just like last time. Find the vertices. Fill it. Remove the stroke. This one next. Fine. Combine the vertices. Move the stroke. Add the fill. Fine. Merge the vertices. Add the fill. Remove the stroke. Okay. Now let's position this and then add the that's gonna be like right there. So I'm gonna create something called stock it, because this is going to tell me like really for surezies what my area is. And this stock, I'm gonna set the scale be um based on inch. I want this to be 6 inches by 48 inches. So this is exactly 6 inches by 48 inches, and then move uh, inches position 0 0. That puts that perfectly there. This is going to go all the way to the bottom below everything. Name this. I'm going to name this stock. Okay, so this is my safe area for cutting these things. Technically, it's a little bit more, but I don't want to risk overcutting something. So that's as good as it's going to be. It's going to be really, really close. But close still works. Hold this a little closer. All right. So now let's add whatchamacallit. Tabs. Tab down here. Tab down here. Tab here. Here. Too small. Up at the top. I'm not going to add tabs in the middle here. This is, I'm just going to keep an eye on it and pull it out. I'm not going to add tabs in the middles here, though I probably could, because this tab here, easy to sand, and it's not going to get in the way of anything. And I'll add tabs on the ends, all these. Okay. Fine. All this tabs. All right, and this is done. actually, what size is this document really? 15, 14, 13. So in reality, it's 13 by 40, 13 by 48. Borders. What are the borders? 13 by 48. And I'm going to rename all these other ones to 13 by 48 because that's the actual size it is. All right. Lastly, laser web. Load the SVG in. Obviously, this piece we don't need. I mean, this whole thing should be zeroed out properly. But yeah, this is zeroed out properly. So I don't need this stock piece. I can get rid of that. I'm then gonna take this, create single, and I'm gonna add all these in there too because I want this one to cut first, and this is the tabs. Mill cut outside. Tab depth is going to be 7 millimeters. Is 10, 2, 3, 5. End is negative 13.5. S depth 2. Full diameter 3.175. Plunger rate 300. Cut rate 100. Okay. All right, so there's still plenty of space around this. If I zoom in, yeah, there's still plenty of cut space around this. So I could, I mean, it's just bare. I guess it's just barely have a skeleton. So we'll see. We'll see. It'll be interesting. Now let's check the simulator. Let's see what the first one is. So it's making that one first. I don't want that one to be that one. I guess it's going left to right. All right. Well, the very last thing it cuts is the middle one. How inconvenient. Anyways, this has tabs where I expect the tabs. So let's save this. Decode. Orders 13 by 48 by 0.5 3.15 here dot and finally save the workspace. Perfect. All right. I'm gonna go CNC this because I have my handy dandy thumb drive right here, and this will probably take maybe about an hour, hour and a half. Which then, by 8 o'clock, I'll be all set and ready to go. The dust will be settling, and I can stream and do the buck creation and ramp pulling. So that's exciting, right? I'll see you in a couple hours.